Allow me, if I may, to introduce you to Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin, a now well-worn idol in the pantheon of tech's misguided wunderkinds. Now, I'm sure you've heard the standard adulation bestowed upon this so-called genius, the scruffy, mild-mannered Canadian-Russian boy who not only invented Ethereum, but had the perverse gall to sit down and have a cozy chat with none other than Vladimir Putin. Yes, dear friends, Mr. Buterin once trotted off to pay homage to the geostrategic chess master who doubles as a shirtless equestrian enthusiast. One wonders, does young Vitalik also enjoy wrangling large predators in Siberia, or is that strictly Mr. Putin's domain? But let us not be too unkind, as if I could resist. Vitalik, you see, in the halcyon days of the 2010s, saw it prudent or visionary, one can rarely tell the difference anymore, to waltz into the Kremlin or some equally drab palace to lecture Mr. Putin on the wonders of blockchain. Of course, the real reason for the meeting was as transparent as the morning dew, a perfect little propaganda photo op for the strongman, with Vitalik cast as the wide-eyed tech apostle, bestowing contrived legitimacy upon the regime. Putin, naturally, sat through it with the kind of interest you might reserve for an especially dreary infomercial. The real victor of that delightful rendezvous was Mr. Putin, who, one imagines, smirked discreetly at the free PR. Vitalik's reward? A handshake and a pat on the head, nothing more. But here's the rub. The paternal pat turned out to be not so paternal after all. It was little more than a manipulative flourish from a statesman who has since provided the world with an oeuvre of destruction and aggression that no one with half a conscience can endorse. So Vitalik, in a tardy epiphany, eventually distanced himself, slammed Putin, oh yes, roundly condemned him, but only years later, once the real damage became impossible to ignore. Perhaps one might ask, did Buterin actually expect a different outcome? Did he foresee a warm and fuzzy partnership with a man who fancies the reconstitution of lost empires? Maybe Vitalik's crystal ball was out of service that day. He never sees the next move, does he? The man behind Ethereum, who fancies himself a strategic thinker in the realm of decentralized finance, utterly forgot the first principle of realpolitik. If you lend your presence to an autocrat, said Autocrat Will, with the opportunistic zeal of a pickpocket in a busy train station, co-opt your brilliance, real or imagined, to burnish his own brutal credentials. And so we come to the present, where Vitalik has diverted his wide-eyed optimism about blockchains and global computing into pontificating about the alleged existential risk posed by superintelligent AI. Yes, quite. Now, I'm not opposed to a rigorous debate on the perils of machine intelligence. I rather enjoy the comedic spectacle of humanity, infinitely bungling, fretting that we might accidentally build some diabolical new god that will enslave us. But really, Vitalik's new proposal is a soft pause on computing, a global consortium to hold the keys to the hardware, doled out with the solemnity of the Sistine Chapel's custodians, all validated by, tada, the dear old blockchain. It's rich with drama and bursting at the seams with unintended irony. One might be tempted to utter, yes, Vitalik, that's the ticket. Let's concentrate all decision-making into a global approval mechanism, so that some luminous board of international mandarins, complete with rubber stamps and party hats, can weigh in on precisely how many server racks we're allowed each year. That's sure to go down swimmingly with the folks who can't so much as pass a budget without descending into mud-flinging fiasco. But, in a glorious continuation of Vitalik's career arc, we can be certain that our boy genius has once again fixated on the bright spark in front of him, while ignoring all subsequent moves on the chessboard. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that he tends to see the pitfall only after the rest of the world has fallen into it. Then he tweets his regrets. No doubt in a few years' time, when the global AI soft pause yields a bureaucratic quagmire or some other predictable fiasco, Vitalik will step forward, solemnly wring his hands and disclaim he never intended for it to be used this way. Then he might scrawl out a follow-up blog post, blame-placing, rewriting the narrative and proclaiming how he tried to warn us. But we will remember. We will recall the circus we were forced to watch. Vitalik, fraternizing with the despots of the day, innovating at the edge of reason and constantly playing catch-up with the ramifications of his own ideas. So, in sum, don't be too dazzled, accept no illusions, And for the love of all that's rational, my friends, if Vitalik Buterin again spontaneously teleports into the presence of some authoritarian figure offering tea and flattery, remember that the photo op may not be about forging some wise alliance or sharing knowledge for the betterment of humanity. It's often merely the strongman once again, feasting upon naive adoration. Vitalik, for all his intelligence in code and cryptography, has thus far proven a certain blindness in the realm of politics, and we can only hope that if and when the real superintelligence emerges, it will have more foresight than the hapless idealist who once tried to cozy up to a dictator.